So, we're starting with parents. We'd like to inform you. We're going to do the same thing with our alums further on down the line. Just a quick aside, our alumni board is doing some marvelous work. A great group of people, great guys. They're led by a board of directors, they've got class captains, they're working on finding classmates, they're working on developing events, they're talking about the annual fund amongst each other, and they're really moving forward in a good fashion. So we're doing this to try to inform you. You know, in the real estate business, it's all about location, 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 and I think in the education business, it's about information, information, information. And I don't think we can ever give you enough of it. And one of the pieces of information that we need to convey to everybody, we've already heard about what a great place this is, but I think one of the pieces of information that we really need to try to convey is that we really have some challenges ahead of us. We truly do. Are they insurmountable? Absolutely not. Again, going back to doing it with this tremendous Moeller family, you've heard a lot about the faculty and staff here. Unbelievable. I have been humbled in my interactions with our faculty and staff. These are tremendous people that are engaging and working with your sons every single day. We want to be a top 10 Catholic school, as Blaine mentioned. That's a vision that came straight out of the long-range strategic planning process of 2009. What's going to make us a top 10 Catholic school? And what do I see ahead for Moeller? So if I look out 3 to 5 years, what would I like Moeller High School to be? I'd like us to be at the very top echelon of academic excellence. And that's all the way from our guidance efforts to all of our AP courses. Top-notch academic school. Catholic identity, I think we're really well down that road now. We do the Catholic and Marianist identity thing really well here. You know, part of the attraction when I came here, for me personally, was that Moeller's a Marianist school. And I've told you about my affiliation and my love for the University of Dayton, which is also a Marianist school. So that part of the connection has been real easy for me. That transition has been real easy. And I'm here to tell you, Moeller High School does the Marianist thing just as well, if not better in many regards, than the University of Dayton does. I'd like to see us achieve a level of long-term financial stability, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. I'd like to see us get to the point where we routinely have anywhere from 960 to 975 young men in the school at any point in time. We're right about at the 929, 930 mark, depending on what day it is and who you're talking to. But 960 to 975 would be a really great level to aspire to down the road in terms of our enrollment. I've already talked about the faculty. I want to do whatever we can financially to try to attract and retain the best faculty possible. We need to upgrade our facilities. I'd like to get to the point where we have giving participation rates of 25% amongst our alums and 50% amongst our parents. You've got a fact sheet at your tables also. I think it's entitled, Did You Know? And you'll see in there that currently we're at 4% and 7% respectively. And oftentimes to ratchet up a percentage point is a tough thing to do because when people graduate, you're always adding to that denominator. So the numerator has to get larger at a more rapid pace for you to increase your participation rate. What does all this take? So if you look out and you say, okay, here's some visionary ideas, what does all this take? It takes resources. It truly does. You've also got in your packets there at your tables an income and expense report for this fiscal year that we're in, for the 2011 fiscal year, which ends on June 30th. We're not going to go over that in detail. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. In fact, many of you are exposed to it through the Moeller magazine in December. But what that does tell you is that right now at Moeller High School, we operate on a margin of about $109,000 a year. That's 10 students. We operate on a margin of 10 students. And that's That's not sustainable, I believe, in the long run. If you look at the level of financial aid that we award about $600,000 a year in financial aid. On that did you know sheet are some facts from some of the other GCL South schools. X awards $2.6 million, Elder awards in the neighborhood of $1.8 million, and LaSalle awards in the neighborhood of $820,000 a year. So in order to be competitive in the Catholic high school landscape in the city of Cincinnati, we need to be able to ratchet up our financial aid awards. And I've been able to get a better perspective on that this year because I got a little bit involved thanks to Brother Ron and Beth Zilch in the admissions office asked me to get involved in some admissions events, actually had me call some parents that, of students who were awarded some academic need-based scholarships. Great conversations with the people I actually talked to. And so I got to hear a little bit about the stories of some of these families. I always love stories. I think stories are the best conveyors of messages, but some of the stories are really amazing. And with just a real ratcheting up of our ability to be more competitive in the financial aid arena, I think will do us wonders. Which brings us to bridging the gap, the gap. Right now at Moeller High School, we have a gap, which is simply the difference between what it costs to educate a student at Moeller every year and what we charge for tuition of $2,173. I'll say $2,200. That's our gap every year, and we have to close that. Some might say, why don't we just charge $12,363 for tuition? Because then there goes your competitive ability in the Catholic high school landscape. If everybody just, we have to have a gap. We have to have a gap. I know that seems kind of counterintuitive, but when you're competing against the kind of caliber institutions that we're competing against, it really makes it tough if you just jumped out and said, you know what, let's forget the gap and let's just go out and charge $12,363 a year. So how do we go about filling the gap? Nobody knows better than the parents at Moeller High School about the fundraising efforts that happen here. The primary funders of the gap and our fundraising efforts right now as they exist at Moeller are the main event. In fact, you'll see on the income and expense report, you'll see $1.3 million for fundraising activities. The main event, the fall raffle, and the annual fund. Probably always have all three, but the primary filler of the gap is always going to be and has to be our annual fund. I'd also be remiss if I didn't say a huge thank you to the number of people who have made this Parent Pride program possible. There is no way that I'm going to be able to name who all those people are, particularly from the volunteer standpoint, but suffice it to say that Debbie Geiger and Mary Fisher and Chris Ann Geyer and all of the parent volunteers that have helped. It's just absolutely heartwarming to see that in action. And again, you know, the level of participation and affinity on the part of Moeller parents is absolutely staggering to me. So that's where we are. We'd like to accomplish a lot of great things. We need the resources to do it. We have a very limited endowment in which to draw on. We need to fill the gap. I hope you understand that I am always open to conversations. As my hero, Brother Ray, would say, I love being at the table with people. I want to engage you in those conversations. And I thank you very much for everything you do for Moeller High School, and I thank you very much for being here today.